Hello everyone, welcome back. We are on chapter 5 of Fritz's route of Cinderella phenomenon Evermore. Let's get into it, yeah! If the night outside is a canvas of gently twinkling stars, the throne room is an intricate painting of a midnight dance. I catch Fritz's eyes in the middle of our dance. They twinkle with a merriment so bright it's contagious. I can't help but smile myself. Tonight is a night for boldness and freedom. A night where we can be anything we want beneath these masks. Fritz spirals me away from him and then back again. For a few moments, I remain rooted in place, not wanting to move. Then, perhaps because of the atmosphere, I find myself standing on the tips of my toes so I can plant a kiss on his lips. The composed smirk falls away from his face, replaced by a faint blush. As abruptly as he pulled me towards him, he suddenly twirls me away. Feeling more brazen tonight, aren't you? Oh, and here I thought you knew how bold I could be. Fritz grins at me. You're the type that enjoys kisses stolen in secrecy, all the more intimate things tucked away where no one can see them. That's the princess I know. Then maybe you don't know me very as well as you think you do, Lord Fitzgerald. Or, I'm sorry, it's Lord Varg tonight, isn't it? Fritz does not deign to respond with words. He leans forward to plant a kiss on my forehead before spinning me away. Just Varg will work for tonight. And what am I to call you? Me? I can't be the only one playing dress up, can I? A title? For me? A memory that I have long been trying to suppress surfaces. Ice Princess. It's a title the townsfolk used to call me behind my back. One I refused to acknowledge until it was too late. What's with the dour expression? In one quick step, Fritz bridges the distance between us. I'm completely aware of my hand pressed to his chest and his breath on my cheek. I turn to consider the crowd around us, but then I realize Fritz has pulled us to the outskirts of the room, away from prying eyes. Hey, Ice Princess. Fritz. Whatever else I'd been meaning to say is cut off when he puts his lips to mine, stealing my words away from me. I'm almost stunned enough to push him away, but then I realize that despite the abruptness of the kiss, Fritz's arms around me are gentle. The kiss, both deep and lingering, is enough to make my knees weak. Yet, it is disappointingly short. The moment I feel myself sinking into his touch, he pulls away and pulls a loose strand of hair behind my ears. The Ice Princess, the one who made all those mistakes in the past, the one who was forced to face so many of her mother's demons. That woman is still you. The smile on his face is gentle. I came to a realization a few weeks ago, Lucette. It was this. In order to face the future, we have to face the past first. His expression becomes somber as he touches the mask on his face. This whole time, I've been lamenting my past. I've been talking about how much of my life I've wasted serving other people. I've always hated that part of myself that was Varg. It was a part of me that hated the world, the part of me that judged everything and everyone. But wearing this mask now makes me remember Varg differently. Now, I can't help but remember that side of me that laughed in the face of danger, the part of me that held tight to you even despite my curse. I did some terrible things, he said, and maybe you did some things you regretted too, but... He leans forward to plant a soft kiss on my forehead. When he pulls away, he is once again smiling his gentle smile. The past is a foundation, and I've realized that's the only through expecting things that I did and everything that I was that I can move on. Wow, that was a tongue twister. Just as around the throne room, my eyes fall on the masked guests and on the jovial smiles lighting their faces. People are guilty of wearing masks around others all the time. We give them the opportunity to wear those masks in public, and they open up and become less afraid to show who they really are. That's why I thought a masquerade would be good for us. Wearing a mask is like looking into a mirror, I think. I smile as I weave my fingers through Fritz's. Those are wiser words than I thought you capable of, Varg. Fritz bursts out laughing. His smile turns cocky. I would be offended if I wasn't so amused. He pauses, looking thoughtful. So, will you let me call you the Ice Princess? I've always thought it was a beautiful title. Ice is sturdy, sure, but it's also malleable enough to chip into whatever shape you want. Fine, you may refer to me as the Ice Princess, but also... I raise an eyebrow at him. Not that I don't appreciate the flattery, but if we are revisiting the past... Fritz smirks. Fine. I tried to be romantic and you cut me down. Same old Ice Princess. That sounds more like the Varg I know. He takes my hand and plants a kiss on the back of it. I've been making tonight sound like it's about me when it's really about you. So I insist, you choose what we do next, Lucette. I'd like to dance with you again. Oh, I didn't think you'd enjoy dancing so much. I care more about your company than a dance. What if I was a clumsy companion, always stepping on your feet? Fritz is a surprisingly good dancer for someone so clumsy, but even then, if you step on my feet, then I shall just step on yours. I wouldn't mind that so terribly. In fact, I think I would enjoy that immensely. Fritz pulls me toward him, setting one hand gently on my back while he grasps the other. He pulls me against his chest. Oh, this is so pretty! Oh my gosh. I love her dress. I love their outfits. Love it. Obsessed. Amazing. My compliments to the chef. This is not dancing. I have no idea what you're talking about, Ice Princess. My whole body is warm, radiating with the heat of his skin on my own. I realize with the start that the music playing in the background has become softer. Without even realizing, my own footsteps become slower to match the rhythm of the music. Fritz moves just as smoothly, every one of his footsteps perfectly echoing mine. He never steps on my feet. I can feel his breath on my neck as he leans down to speak with me. If this isn't dancing, then what would you call it? A breach of personal space. And what's the problem? We're in public. You're more than welcome to step away whenever you want. Thought so. Ah, get it, Fritz. He plants a kiss beneath my ear before pulling away. The two of us continue to dance without caring who sees us. When the song eventually fades into something more jovial, Fritz pulls away from me and raises an eyebrow. Care for a drink, Miss Ice Princess? I nod my head at him slowly as I come out of my thoughts. I'll be back in a few moments, then. Don't go anywhere, okay? Fritz walks off to get something to drink, but does not leave me alone for long. Only minutes later, he has returned. I stare at the glass topper as he hands me one of the drinks. It appears to be some kind of animal. It looks like some kind of strange lizard? The chameleon for karma! Aww. What's this? Your guess is as good as mine. Apparently this is done to honor one of our esteemed guests. Perhaps it was for Claude or Lance, but why a lizard? I startle when Fritz flicks my forehead. Sorry, I couldn't resist when you were so obviously daydreaming. Would it not be more a night dream at this point? Point taken. Though Fritz and I remain in each other's company for a long time after that, it's just a matter of time and the two of us are forced to separate. I am pulled aside by the nobles, all of whom have some matter or another to discuss with me. Meanwhile, Fritz is cornered by some of his acquaintances from the order. I insist that he share a drink with them, and after some hesitance, he agrees to accompany them. Later, socializing becomes more difficult. My energy is drained, and I feel suddenly claustrophobic. I need some fresh air. I glance around the throne room in an attempt to find Fritz, but quickly give up the efforts. I should let him relax for a change. I turn and head out of the throne room. I release a sigh as I step out into the corridor. The tranquil night is a nice change from the crowded throne room. I wander a little further, deciding to put as much distance as I can between myself and the crowds. I meander down some of the nearby corridors, taking in the quiet of the night and letting it settle gently on my shoulders. Save for a few nights out on patrol, the halls are empty. Some wave to me as I pass, but none approach to talk. I remain this way until I'm a good distance away from the throne room, and a familiar knight makes her way over to me. Princess Lucette? What are you doing out here? I came out here for some fresh air. I paused to glance behind me. I realized suddenly that I have come into a different corridor. Many of the lamps here are unlit, probably to discourage people from wandering any further. Jareen smiles at me wanly. A little too crowded inside for you? I'm afraid so. I'm surprised Fritz isn't out here with you. I didn't want to pull him away from the festivities when he was having so much fun. It's been a while since he's been able to relax. I can't argue with that. He looked tense recently. I nodded and looked at her, curious. What about you? How have you been since the promotion? The smile that stretches across Julian's face is so bright it sparkles. It's been well. It's a lot of work, but it's rewarding. I only wish... She stops then, the smile fading from her face. I can tell by the melancholy in her eyes that she's thinking of Garland. My heart sinks at the memory of him. I have tried many times to apologize to Julian for what happened, but she insists it wasn't my fault. And now the only thing I can do is pay my respects to him as I do with everyone else. I hope that my words reach him. Julian shakes her head abruptly. Never mind. When she faces me again, her good cheer is returned. I'll escort you back to the party, Princess. I was just returning myself. I nod my acquiescence. The two of us had just turned and are beginning to head back when Jurian suddenly stops, head angled. I follow her gaze down a hall and see people in the far distance. Guess, but there's no reason for them to venture this far. I look questioningly at Jurian as she's already started walking toward the small crowd. Head back to the throne room, Your Highness. Wait, what's... But Jurian trots off silently before I can even finish my question. For a few moments, I simply watch her go, disconcerted by the sudden change in her demeanor. I ought to head back, but... I'm curious about what's happening. Surely it cannot hurt to investigate. If I need to, I can always hide. Fritz taught me how to be inconspicuous. Eventually, I come to the edge of the darkened corridor. I duck behind the nearest pillar and scope out my surroundings from behind. From here, I can only just barely make out Jurian's profile. In front of her, cloaked in heavy darkness, there are two knights and a woman. I realize almost immediately that they are holding the woman between them, and that one of the knights has his hand clamped over her mouth. What is the meaning of this? Commander, we are dealing with an interference. We found this undesirable roaming the halls with a stash of dangerous equipment. The woman between them continues to struggle, but her thrashing barely moves the knights, who stand stock still as they look at Jurian. Let her speak. But, Commander... I said, let her speak. Commander, she was holding onto this. Knight takes something from his pocket and presents it to Jurian. Her eyes widen. A potion? She glances at the panicked woman. So their captor's a former witch, but what are they doing to her? She's about to break into the party with this. We found her sulking out here and arrested her immediately. And, if she is so guilty, then let her speak for herself. The two men glance at each other over the woman's head. Even from the distance, I can tell Jurian is scrutinizing them. If I was able, I would come out right at this moment and bid the knights to speak myself, but Jurian cannot know I'm here. At last, one of the knights sighs. I never thought you'd be a witch sympathizer, Lady Jurian. Even in the darkness, I can see Jurian glowering. But before she can say anything, she's interrupted by the sound of shattering glass. The hallway is suddenly encased in a mist thick enough to hide the figures from my sight. Stop! Desist at once! Jurian's words fall on deaf ears. Before I can rationally piece the scene together in my mind, I am pulled from my thoughts by the sound of battle. Through the mist is thick, I can see Jurian engaged in combat with one of the knights. The witch is conspicuously missing. Where did she go? It is then I witness one of the knights escaping the mist. He holds the struggling woman firmly in his grasp and yells something at his comrade before running down the hallway in the opposite direction. Fear mingles with anger as the knights approach. Panic builds in my chest. If I move, I'll put myself in danger. But if I do not, the kidnapper could very well escape. What should I do? We're going to intercept the knight. I steel myself, trying not to imagine the panic that would be in Fritz's eyes if he knew what I was about to do. My father would not simply call for help. He would do something. I have not learned how to defend myself just so I could flee. I put on a burst of speed and rush across the courtyard. Normally, I would not be able to catch up to the captor, but the struggling woman in his arms slow him down, and in less time than I anticipate, I am standing in front of him. Out of the way, girl. I pluck the mask from my face. The knight pales. I do not know who you are or what you hope to accomplish, but you will let this woman go immediately. I try not to flinch while the knight laughs. Ah, the fallen witch's daughter. I would have been scared of you before, princess, but now you're just as powerless as the damsel in my arms. You can't use magic anymore, And, if anything, that makes me just like you. You witches could never be like us. What has this woman done to you? What hasn't she done? During the war, witches burned our homes and slaughtered us in the streets. Then, magic up and disappears, and they suddenly think they can be like us, that they can simply be forgiven for their crimes and go on living as innocents. The man's grip on the woman tightens. I can see tears in her eyes. Equality? Don't make me laugh. We will never be the same. I see. The knight unsheathes his sword and holds it to the woman's throat. If you value the hostage's life, you will back away slowly. Just for a few moments, I falter. Memories of my own capture replay in my mind, and I am incapable of the movement. I force myself to brush them aside. 2 years ago, people died because of my bad decisions. What kind of queen will I be if I keep putting others in danger? Oh my god. Can we take a moment to appreciate the side profile, though? Oh my gosh. Immaculate. Amazing. I take a few steps back, and as I do so, reach in my pocket for Fritz's knife. I send out a silent apology to Fritz, hoping he will forgive my brazenness. Then, just as the knight lowers his sword, I lunge forward with the knife. The movement startles him, and he steps back in alarm. I slice the dagger through his hand. His grip on the witch loosens, and she uses the opening to rush behind me. She says something in my hands in passing. This is the last missed potion I have. The knight approaches, sword withdrawn. I have no time to think. I cannot take the man on my own. I throw the glass potion to the floor. It shatters and the knight disappears behind a curtain of mist. I can still hear him approaching, though, and knowing I am no match for him in a one-on-one fight, I grab the witch's hand and flee with her through the mist. I soften my footsteps as we move. Thankfully, the witch mimics my stealth, and the two of us reach the end of the corridor quietly. Your Highness, you... I clamp a hand over her mouth, but too late. The knight who had been wandering silently through the mist turns his sword in our direction and lunges. I just barely manage to pull the witch out of the way in time. But when the knight turns towards us again, I know I am outmatched. I've been practicing, but I do not have enough experience to face a skilled swordsman. Still, I refuse to be bested. I do the last thing I can think to do. I throw the dagger. My aim is off, but it glances off the knight's wrist rather than hitting him in the chest. But it is enough. It startles him, and I use the extra time to make my escape with the witch. A word becomes unbidden to my lips as we run. Aduiva. I turn the bend of the corridor. Lucette. I run right into Fritz, who somehow manages to remain standing upright. What? He freezes at the sound of incoming footsteps. He sees me standing with the quivering witch and sees to piece together what is happening. He takes out his sword and turns to the knight as he approaches. The knight falters, but before he can escape, Fritz surges forward, quick as lightning. His sword rings like thunder against the knight's. Lower your sword. Jurian approaches from the opposite end of the corridor, sword raised. A group of knights trail her. The other criminals sandwiched between them, hands bound. The captor facing Fritz has no choice but to lower his sword. With one last scathing look at the witch, he drops his sword and raises his hands. It is only after he's been captured that I allow myself to breathe. Man. Look at our queen go. Oh my gosh, she's such a boss babe, you know? The minute the king is notified of the incident, the masquerade is cancelled and the throne room cleared out. And this is what I witnessed. I finish describing the situation to the king as consciously as I can. When I am done describing everything I've witnessed, I stand silently and wait for the king's verdict. The two kidnappers are prostrated on the ground behind me, surrounded by the tight circle of knights. Fritz and Jurian are there as well. I can feel Fritz's gaze on my back and have to resist the urge to look back at him. So this was another hate crime against witches. Your Majesty, if I may interrupt. Speak, Jurian. We discover that this is not the criminals' first offense. They are also behind some of the recent witch hate crimes happening in town. Jurian shoots the two knights a severe glare. I hold myself responsible for not having found out about the crimes earlier. You have my deepest apologies, Your Majesty. Your apologies are unwarranted, Jurian. I'm just as surprised as you are to see this hatred even within our ranks. He turns again to the knight, expression stoic. I personally invited Lady Celeste to this ball. She's a busy woman, a countess from Brigantia who deserves our utmost respect. A countess? Father invited a countess from Brigantia here without me knowing? I invited her here to act as a spokesperson for witches, and she gracefully agreed. He frowns. I did not know what you intended to do with her, but know this. You will be tried for all of your crimes. I will not abide prejudice in this kingdom. With that, the two men are taken from the room. Their sentence is all but set, but they will nonetheless get a trial for the sake of fairness. Jurian herself leads them out. After she is left, it's just Fritz and I left in the room. I break the silence first. The witch is a Brigantian countess? Why did you not tell me she was coming? I intended to have Claude introduce you tonight. The only other ones who knew of her arrival were the knights. It was for security purposes. He sighs. I see now that it was a mistake to keep this information confidential. Regardless. My father turns to me, expression somber. You put yourself in danger rescuing her, Lucette. I cannot sit back while she was in danger. We have knights so that we may rely on them. Be that as it may, there was no one there to rely on in the moment. Lucette. In the end, what you did was very heroic. You have won the Countess's favor, and in doing so have redeemed Angielle in her eyes. You were very brave, Lucette. Very brave as a ruler must be. My heart eases somewhat at the words. I'd like to speak to the Countess now, but I would hear your testimony tomorrow, Fritz. Of course, Your Majesty. Then you are excused. Thank you both for your assistance tonight. With a bow and a curtsy, Fritz and I duck out of the throne room. My head is still reeling by the time I turn to the bedroom. To think the woman I helped save tonight was the Countess from Brigantia. I collapse on my bed with a groan. Fritz leans against the wall nearby, arms crossed. What a long night. Fritz shuffles silently in place. He's fidgety enough, I know there is something on his mind. Just say it. You're disappointed I put myself in danger, aren't you? Disappointed? Lucette, I can never be disappointed. Terrified for you, yes, but disappointed? How can I be disappointed when you saved an innocent woman? This whole time you've been training to protect yourself, but you ended up using skills I taught you to save someone else. He crouches down so that we are eye to eye. Much to my relief, a soft smile graces his face. You knew when to attack, when to defend, and when to run. I sigh. Some of it was luck, but who knows what would have happened had Lady Celeste not had the extra mist potion. Right, and that's the part that terrifies me. But while I want to protect you from everything, I would be doing you a disservice by not believing in you. I said this before, Lucette, but you're the strongest woman I know. And this proves it more than anything else. You're a lot calmer about this than I thought you would be. Fritz shakes his head. His eyes are filled with mirth. Like I said, it's impossible to be disappointed in you, and you use the knife. Instinctively, my hand goes to my pocket, but the knife is not there. Oh no, I threw it at the night before, but then I forgot to retrieve it. Hey. Fritz holds out his arm, and with a flick of his wrist, the knife flashes out from his sleeve. He hands it to me with a flourish. I saw it in the corridor and thought you might have dropped it. I didn't realize you were hiding it in your dress. You gave it to me as a gift, and it's a good means of protection. It would be foolish of me not to carry it. I look down at the knife, thoughtful. After a few moments, Fritz wraps his hands around mine. What you did today was amazing, Lucette, but please, promise me you'll always prioritize your own safety. NGL can't lose its future queen. A spark dies in his eyes as he speaks, and his shoulders sag. And I can't lose you. You mean the world to me, Lucette. You're the one that keeps me rooted, that keeps me sane. You're my dream for the future. His eyes are on the dagger as he speaks. I wonder vaguely if he's thinking about his mother and what happened to Alacaster after her death. I need to confront him somehow, but how? We're going to talk about the future. I lower myself to the floor, and before he can protest, lean close enough to press myself to his shoulder. I reach up to trail my fingers down his arm. I don't plan on going anywhere anytime soon, Fritz. You are just as much my dream as I am yours. I want you to be my future. Fritz's cheeks flush with soft crimson. It takes me a few moments to realize why. I quickly pull away, my own cheeks warm. Oh, they're so cute. But Fritz grabs my hand before I can stand back up. He draws my fingers to his lips and kisses them one by one, lips lingering on each one. Fritz. He looks up at me, his gaze filled with warmth. Always. I promise to be with you always. He leans forward to cup my face in my hands. Our lips are inches apart when a knock sounds at the door, startling us both. Your Highness, the Queen requests your presence in her chambers. Ophelia, she must want to check on me. Tell her I will be there in a few moments. I turn back to Fritz and plant a quick kiss on his lips before standing up. He looks up at me, almost disappointed. I consider him for a few moments before shaking my head with a little smile. Would you like to come with me? To the Queen's room? Is there a problem? No, I've just never visited her chambers before. Then we must remedy that. You're basically a part of the family now, after all. Before he can protest, I grab his hand and pull him out of the room. This is not the Queen's chambers, this is the dining room. Last night's proceedings feel like a dream in the morning. The king reviews the situation with the counselors, and after hearing testimony from Fritz, Jurian, and I, he sentences the knife to light time in prison. The countess has been offered a room in their palace for a few days. Last I heard, she's resting in a room and recuperating from the trauma of last night. Even the masquerade feels like a dream. In the morning, everyone is exhausted, with the exception of 2 people. You absolutely must fight me. I will not leave Angel until we spar. Sorry, Your Highness, but I have a very tight schedule. Oh man, Claude wants to keep a spot as a master swordsman. I love it. His eyes flicker to me, and I can see the mischief in them. I know Fritz does not have so much on his plate that he cannot spar with Claude. No, he just wants to avoid Claude's melodrama. But this is a gentleman's challenge. One does not turn down a gentleman's challenge. On the contrary, one has the responsibility to turn down a gentleman's challenge if it comes from a man that is not a gentleman. Oh man, I love Lance and Claude. They're like, their relationship is so great because Lance just like roasts Claude so much. It's amazing. You stay out of this, llama. Claude and Lance are our esteemed guests for the following week, though I have no doubt Claude's dramatics will tire me out by the end of the week. I cannot help but be glad to see him again. His exuberance is contagious. Emmeline especially is excited the 2 princes are staying longer. She's been stealing glances across the table at Lance all morning. Even now, she twirls her hair around her finger and she shoots another nervous smile at Lance. When she notices me staring, she turns away with a flush. Do you really plan on ignoring me, Lord Fitzgerald? Oh, were you saying something? Such a cruel man you are. Please ignore him, Lord Fitzgerald. He thrives off of attention. I only wanted to see who the superior swordman was. Fritz is a very capable swordsman. He is the commander of the Order of Caldera, after all. Bah, that means nothing. Claude has not changed at all. Lord Fitzgerald fights with a purpose, not just for the sake of being dramatic. You're just jealous you're not good with a sword, Llama. Emmeline gives Claude a withering look. Prince Lance is good at many other things, like dancing and chess, and she blushes when she notices everyone staring at her. Truly, you're far too kind to me, Princess Emmeline. The familiar banter continues throughout breakfast. Thankfully, no one brings up the incident from yesterday. At the end of breakfast, I take Fritz's hand and allow him to lead me into the corridor. The two of us are on our way to my bedroom when someone appears in the corridor. Princess Lisette! The Countess Lady Celeste appears before us, a brilliant smile on her face. 1,000 blessings upon you this morning. And to you, to what do I owe this pleasure? I'm glad I stumbled into you. The king told me you planned on giving a speech to the populace about the divide between witches and humans. Would I be able to help you with it? The king called her here just for that reason? Her input will be extremely invaluable. Of course, perhaps we can meet in the dining hall? Wonderful. I also wanted to say... She grasped my free hand. I flinched at her touch, but did not pull my hand away. I wanted to thank you again for your assistance. I also wanted to tell you I have faith in you as Angiel's future queen. What? I know the rumors around Angiel. I know many witches blame you for what happened, but... The Countess shakes her head. I believe you are not only worthy, but overqualified to be queen. You are a noble spirit, and you will be an amazing queen. That is kind of you to say. I could barely form words of gratitude, overwhelmed as I am by her compliments. The Countess laughs. Have faith, Princess Lisette. People's hearts can be changed. There's the good and there's evil in this world, but there's also so much more. People are complex and susceptible to change. She leads on that sentiment, leaving me alone with Fritz. After she's left, he raises his eyebrows at me and smiles that cocky smile of his. Well? Well, what? Do you have any more faith in yourself now? I told you that you were good at what you do. I nudge him. That, my lord, is a matter of opinion. Fritz leans down on me to kiss my forehead. I'm afraid you saying the subject doesn't count because you're biased, but... He pulls a strand of hair back behind my ear. I would like your opinion on some other things, like my list for the future, for instance. You're still going to help me write it, aren't you? It would be an honor. He smiles at me softly. The honor's all mine, milady. The two of us share a smile and a kiss before we head on our way. It's so cute. So wholesome. What good beans. Alright, that was episode 5. I will see you all in the very last chapter until we meet again. Bye, guys.